Good morning. My name is Nate Bigby with Gulf Coast Christian Church, and welcome to another Church for Men. Well, a lot of us just got done with an incredible time with the Louis, and they did a phenomenal parenting class for our church. And if you're interested in checking that out, please let us know. We can send you the link to that video. It was recorded. But we're going to have a great time today. I am really excited. One of my best friends in the entire world is going to be joining us today. And his name is Jeff Henderson. And so we're going to be hearing from him. Jeff and I go back all the way up to the Seattle area. We both went to school together at the University of Washington. And in fact, the very first time that I met Jeff was at church, and my roommate slammed Jeff's pinky in the door. And Jeff had great self-control. It was amazing. And yeah, I was, wow, okay. My buddy just slammed his finger in the door, and Jeff persevered through that pain. And, it was incredible. As soon as I became a disciple, Jeff and I spent, I think it was like a week or a week and a half together straight right during Christmas break. We spent like 24/7 together. We bonded. He really helped me with some fundamental things that I needed to learn and was working on growing in my relationship and understanding of God. And right from the get-go, we were best friends, and we just spent so much time together. He's the main guy who really helped me with the concept of even going into the full-time ministry, with the need to lead other people, the need in our future for men to rise up and continue to lead other men. And, our walk kind of then paralleled for many years. He moved down to San Antonio, and about 2 years later, I moved down to San Antonio, and we were both in the ministry together. And then we both got married within 1 year of each other. We both got appointed evangelists within 5 weeks of each other. We had our first child within a year of each other. We bought our first houses within a year of each other. And now, which we'll hear from him in a little bit here, but we're both being sent out on the mission field within about a year of each other. And so, Jeff is just a phenomenal brother. He is a visionary. He is my favorite person to have late night conversations with, where we just dig into what's going on, how we're doing, and the future of our movement as a whole, and God's kingdom. And I love Jeff to death. And I'm so excited and honored that he's going to be speaking to us today. So we are continuing to talk. We're going to continue to talk about Craftsmen for Christ. And Jeff is a craftsman of many things. Jeff digs into things like nobody else I know. He loves getting involved in them. I think that's a part of why we have such a kindred spirit. We both love jumping into things, but Jeff really gets into them and perfects them and becomes a craftsman of things in life, but he's also a craftsman for Christ. And so, Jeff, I'm going to pull you up here on the screen, bro. Great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And bro, go ahead and take us away.
Thanks. Well, thank you guys for having us. Like Nate said, my name is Jeff Henderson. Originally from Seattle. I am down here in San Antonio, or I guess up here from the Gulf Coast. I am sitting on the ground because we don't even have a desk. We are selling all of our things because in a couple of months' time, my wife and I and our 3 kids will be moving down to São Paulo, Brazil, to be serving down there on the mission field. So I feel like whatever Nate does, I'm going to try to do within the next year. So he went out, to the Gulf Coast. So we're like, hey, let's go too. So we have been walking side by side for a long time. Nate's a phenomenally good friend and inspiring minister. And I definitely want to encourage all of you that are down there in Corpus Christi. Hopefully you are encouraged that you guys have folks like the Bigbies, but certainly like Nate. I love his spirit. I love his tenacity. I love how he will get in and build. He will take on projects. He will bite off more than he can chew, but he will chew it and do it because he works hard. And I love that. And I love that about Nate. Today I want to talk about excellence. And I think if you got a Bible, turn over to Proverbs chapter 22. So forgive the lighting. I'm literally sitting Downstairs, a garage sale is going on. We are selling everything. So if you're on your phone driving through San Antonio today, you can stop by, let us know. Well, you can come buy a ton of stuff. We are selling everything must go. I've been feeling like a used car salesman the last couple of weeks as we've been getting rid of everything. But that is the part of the adventure here. But in Proverbs chapter 22 and in verse 29, it says, do you see someone skilled in their labor or in their work, depending on your translation? It says they will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank. What's interesting, what's true all over the scriptures, is that excellence is undeniable. As men, as people, we see each other in the areas that we excel. And often we think excellence is actually about natural skill. Now, I can't dunk a basketball. I'm not even 5'6" anymore. I've actually shrank over the years. Now I can pick heavy things up. I can't really reach tall things, right? We all got different skills or different talents we're born with. But so much about excellence is actually a product of your character plus time. And being excellent at something's really, so much of it is about being a student, about being a learner, this is the thing that we love about people who really are excellent at everything they do. And whether it's LeBron James or others, so much of that is actually, yes, they have their natural talent, but it's about the excellence that they've developed. And I love this because even the scripture says, do you see someone who is skilled, not just naturally talented, but who has become skilled, who has become excellent? Even kings take notice. And oftentimes we want to win the respect, or we want to influence, kind of taking a page out of Dale Carnegie. We want to win friends and influence people. So much about it is and so many different leaders and different thought leaders have talked about this. We got to look at our own lives and go, man, is it excellent? Do the things that I do, the way I live, is it excellent? Do people take notice and they go, man, that's awesome. It's inspiring. And there's different things that I've dived into, but I don't know what it is for you. Whether it's music, I love coffee, barbecue, cooking. Maybe it's lifting weights. Maybe for you, it's whatever. There's so many things it can be. But excellence is undeniable, and it influences people. And we see this in several different ways throughout the scriptures. I want to talk about it in two different lights. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, we see this as Paul's writing to the church in Thessalonica. And we pick it up in verse 9. And he says, now about your love for one another, we do not need to write to you, for you yourselves have been taught by God to love each other. And in fact, you love all of God's family throughout Macedonia. Yet we urge you, brothers and sisters, to do so more and more, and to make it your ambition. Make it your ambition. He's talking to just Christians. This isn't just about being in the ministry. This isn't about being a world leader. This is just talking to the average Christian in Thessalonica. He says, verse 11, to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. You should mind your own business and work with your hands just as we told you, so that your daily life, now check this out, verse 12, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, and so that you will not be dependent on anybody. Now, there's levels to this. People watch your life. And if you're anything like me, I remember I was a very young Christian. I went home for Christmas break, and I basically preached at my family. What an idiotic, foolish thing to do. And actually, I really hurt and injured a lot of the relationships. Because at that point, I was weeks, maybe months into my walk with Jesus. My dad had seen me through middle school and my gangster phase and my, baggy pants phase and this phase. He'd seen the fads go in and out, and he'd seen everything. But my life had not won the respect of him. And that takes time. Our neighbors, we move into a neighborhood, and oftentimes, man, we know the effort we put in. We know our faith, or we move into a new city. We want to be men of influence. But the truth of it is the excellence of our life, we've got to get this point that consistency beats intensity. And excellence is not about a one-off situation. It's about the way we steward and shepherd our life day after day. That excellence isn't just about, did you go to the Olympics and win a gold medal? Did you win the World Series? I mean, that's an amazing thing. Obviously, there's a lot of excellence there, but we also know we know a lot of names who have done those things, but there are far more names that have done all of those things that we have forgotten, that are not excellent, that don't win our respect, that don't have influence in our life because we just don't know them. But people will look at your life. And my question is, do your neighbors, does your family, do they look at your life and go, that's what I want? That's what I want. Does your character, do the way that you take care of your finances, do they go, that's excellent? Do they look at the way you parent your children and go, that's excellent? Do they look at the cleanliness of your home? Do they look at just the things that have been given, whether it's the yard, whatever it is, and go, that's excellent? And there's something about when we care about when people walk into our world where they go, there's something else influencing them. There's an ambition beyond, I'm just getting through it. But going, no. For those of us that know God and know the calling of him, he's going, there's all of these things that have been given to us, not only gifts from God, they actually reflect his glory. Does your character, does your life do that? Does it win the respect of people? And I look at this, even among that proverb, and it's funny is that living a life like this, I don't know if you guys are like me. I think I experienced so much hypocrisy. I went to, 20 or something different churches and groups and whatever, and I was searching for Jesus. But the thing that threw me wasn't, there was actually a shocking lack of Bible study. I mean, very few people, very few of these groups ever looked into opened the scriptures with me and we looked at them. So that aside though, I looked at their lives, because remember, most people our lives are the only sermon they're going to hear preached, right? It's the only part of the Bible that they may ever read. So when they look at our lives and look at our characters, do they go, I want that? And the truth of it is I experience ministers or Christians or so much of these different folks that call themselves that, and the hypocrisy, not the imperfection of their life. That's different. We are all imperfect men, but when we get after it and we focus and we're devoted, and our ambition is even my daily life, I'm going to live excellently. It's going to be to the glory of Jesus. That we look at that and see something different. And I think the blatant hypocrisy in people's lives, opposing the views that they said, made me go, I don't want that. Even if the truth of the Bible is real, I don't want to be a man like that. But when I started seeing real men in areas that really I thought displayed this kind of excellence, was their conviction and their lifestyle of purity. I remember studying the Bible and doing a sin study, and the men that were in that study, and I remember going around and we read scriptures like not a hint of any sexual immorality or any kind of impurity. And I looked around, I was like, dude, you're dating. I know your girlfriend's beautiful. You're telling me you guys don't make out? You're not having sex? Are you kidding me? And you don't look at pornography? We went around the room and the guys were like, no, that's exactly right. And when we fall, we talk about it, we repent. And that hit me because I was like, that's excellent character. That's an excellent daily life. And it won the respect of me. Even though that respect and that confidence and that trust had been broken. But that's what won me. And a lot of times we think it's how well we preach the Bible. And I think in some ways, the excellence that people that are going to get won over is how well we just live it. How well do we just do this day in and day out? And I'll tell you what, consistency beats intensity. It wins the respect of people. And like Proverbs 22 says, even kings take notice. So people who in your community, in your family, it's only since I've had kids and been married for years that have a good chunk of my family even taken note of the faith that I've had. Because a lot of my family didn't have faith. I'm from the Northwest, it's a pretty unchurched area. And they go, oh, wow, what's going on? I see the difference in your kids, or I see the difference in your marriage and your guys' dynamic. And I think it's not, and it's to God's glory. It's his grace working in my life. It's the church and the discipling and the influence and the training. But my ambition is, man, I just want my life to reflect the glory of Jesus. And I think yours can too. And being men and being craftsmen, it's about crafting our character and the excellence of our daily life and seeing that it will win people. And not only do we get the benefit of living in an excellent and awesome, respect-worthy life, because that's its own type of blessing and freedom, but it does shine. Especially when people feel so out of control and we live in a life It's so much about the social media or whatever. We've got this manicured kind of image that we're putting out to the world. When people see real character and real excellence, they go, man, I love that and I want that. But it isn't just about staying focused on our own little interesting, or the interest of our own daily lives. There's another aspect of this. And we're going to end here in Luke 16. And in Luke 16, hopefully this is making sense this morning. But I think there's this really interesting parable, and it's a pretty wild parable about the shrewd manager. And this is in Luke 16. And in 1-7, you see it. This guy's basically failing at his job, and he's about to get fired, and he knows it. So he starts working the situation, and he's managing all the money for his master. So he starts giving people discounts and giving people refunds and stuff on their bill. And then the master comes back and says this in verse 8. He says, the master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly, which means there's an intelligence, but there's also a calculating intelligence, and they're seeing ahead. They're making right decisions here. It says, for the people of the world, this is the punchline we got to get. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of light. That's super interesting to me. And I'll tell you, in verse 9, he says, I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourself, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings. Whoever can be trusted with little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly riches, who will trust you with true riches? And if you have not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own? And then he goes on to talk about how no one can serve two masters. And I think this parable is wild. There's so much about it. But Jesus gives us the punchline, which is, I think, really important for us, is that for you and me, God has poured in talent. He's given us ability. Everyone has, but there's nobody that doesn't have any talent. That doesn't exist. God has given you ability. Maybe it's good looks. Maybe it's strength. Maybe it's a great mind and intellect. Maybe it's a really high EQ, your emotional intelligence. Maybe it's accounting, or you're an engineer. Whatever the talent that's been poured into you, he says, let's get very clear about this. The way that you handle that can be for eternal impact. You can use a worldly sense, right? These bodies themselves even are going to pass away. We're going to get entirely new bodies when we go to heaven. He's like, the good looks you have, the strength you have, the athletic ability, the place, all of that. Sometimes it's even our race, which is super controversial right now. There's some people in the world that can't see past the color of their own skin. They can't think like the kingdom, that we're able to influence people like us. Or maybe we're really good looking and tall and handsome. We got the model looks, didn't get that talent. You got the jawline, man. Some guys will look at that, or women will look at that, and that's the only thing that they'll respect and influence. Some of the things that I think for me that I've had to, and that I've been challenged on, that I've had to multiply, that have had influence, are things like lifting, getting in the gym. Started powerlifting, got some coaching, had some good people that were in my life and helped me to get strong. It took years. But when you're in the gym, there's some guys in the gym that literally have come to Bible Talk only because they saw me deadlifting that day, or they saw the amount that I squatted. And you go, that's pretty worldly. I go, yep. But if you got it, use it for the kingdom. And they go, that's excellent. Why? Because you can measure excellence in pounds in the gym. You go 500 pounds on the bar, that's excellent. Things like coffee. I love coffee. Any of you guys that know me know that. I've learned about it. I've dived in and nerded out like crazy. And I think, but when guys come over and I can make them a cup of coffee and they go, I don't really like coffee. And I go, try this. And they go, oh my goodness, what is this? And using worldly wealth, a little bit of worldly talent as a sense of hospitality can win people. And this is what at the center of Luke 16, and there's so many scriptures about hospitality, and I'll let you have those. You can go look those up, about using whatever talent and wealth you have. And I'll make the point, using worldly wealth means that you have gained some wealth, which means you got to build a talent and enough of a skill set for someone to want to hire you and pay you. Like the ambition, don't confuse selfish ambition with ambition, especially in a godly sense. And we want to use that and develop that and be able to shine, not make our work an idol, not give in to greed, but be excellent in what we do and watch kings and our neighbors take notice. And that not just our daily life being excellent, but even that we're shrewd in the way that we go, I only have 50 years or 80 years or 10 years left on this earth. I don't know how much time I have, but I want all the talent and the wealth I have. The only way I carry it, Egyptians wanted to bury it in the sarcophagus with them. We know that doesn't work. The only way we take this stuff, the talent and the wealth on this side of eternity into the next, is by investing it into people and watching them find Jesus. They do take notice. They do win our trust. So my challenge today is what? One, how are you with your finances and your kids and your just daily life? How is it going? Are there men in your life that you're honestly talking about and that you've got a goal and you take debt seriously, you take your weight and your health seriously, that you take your kids and your parenting seriously, that you take your work seriously? And it doesn't mean that it becomes an idol, but whatever we're going to do, we're going to give it the time it needs, and we're going to be excellent and wholehearted when we're doing it. And the second thing is, one, do you have goals? Is there ambition? In the sense of, man, what is it? What can you use? What talents do you have? How can you build those things? Become nerds, become experts, or whatever in your thing. You don't have to do it professionally. But even whether it's cooking or barbecuing or coffee or whatever your thing is, so that when people come into your world, they go, wow, it's full of peace. It's delicious. It's awesome. I want to be here. It feels like home. And it's won my respect. Men, let's be excellent at whatever we do. Let's be students. But let's make sure that it wins the respect of our neighbors and even the kings in our community, because that's how we win the world. Let's be men of excellence.
Excellent job, Jeff. You are an excellent speaker as well, and I just love how you dig into things and even this topic. And, for us, excellence as men, it's obviously something that's important. I love the concept of serving before kings. It's interesting here down in Corpus. That's something that we've started digging into a little bit, is starting to get to know even people who are the kings of the world right now, so to speak, or, the owners, the business owners, the coaches, and trying to, just be influential in those types of people's lives. And it's provided some incredible opportunities for us that, otherwise wouldn't be there.
Absolutely.
And, it's incredible. I think as a group of guys, I think some guys hear a type of lesson like this and it's, let's go. Yes. Awesome. And, it's helpful and, it's incredible. And we go and we get started. We get so fired up, and then it lasts a week or it lasts a month. And then we're back to the old habits and I'll let the grass go for an extra week, or, whatever the thing that we were after, that zeal that we had after hearing something powerful like this. And it comes back to your point of consistency and persistence. How do we make the leap from great conference, great lesson, great quiet time, put into practice for a bit of time? How do we make that transition to, no, this now becomes a long-term effect in my life?
I think it's a great question. I think that's a wrestling match that we don't just face as a group of disciples. I think men in virtually every industry ask the same question. I think sometimes we try to recreate the wheel, or we misunderstand what it is. I think when we talk conviction, we often think something that I deeply agree with in my head, as opposed to something my life is aligned with. And which I think to me is what we think about with discipleship in Jesus. I don't just agree he's the Son of God. I go from John 8:30 and going, oh, I believe that. I have some level of faith to, okay, if you're really my disciples, you actually do what I'm saying, and then you know truth, and then you get the freedom. And so to me, I think it's a matter, your point, or, of kind of like the consistency point. I think to me, it's a matter of one, do the people around us that support us and know us do we have a group of men that inspire us and that encourage us? Do we have a group of friends? And I don't mean just a crowd of people we see either virtually or in person on a Sunday morning, but do I have a few friends that are training partners that know my goals, that whether it's the emotional or the financial gym that I'm trying to train in, that know what I'm doing, and that accountability. I think legalism and accountability is really a question of, do you want it? And I think church, especially, high expectation kind of discipleship, becomes legalism when I no longer want the accountability. I no longer want people asking me. And I think a mature idea of accountability, which gets me where I want to go ultimately, is, hold on, and this is, I think, a mature concept of accountability, which is I actually want it. I'm asking for it. Hey, bro, let me tell you about it. And I want you to ask me, not because I'm dependent on you dragging me to my goal, but because I know I may drift. And it's like bumper bowling. I want to put the bumpers up because I want to hit the pins. I don't want to be in the gutter. So I think there's setting a vision. What are the pins I want to hit? Getting some boundaries, but I think it's turning the corner and making my daily practice. And I think sometimes we want to get to the peak of Everest, but if you want to climb Everest, you climb Mount Rainier. And different seasons of Rainier is one step. And then you go to McKinley, right, in Alaska. And that's training forever. There's some tiering, and I think I want to get to that peak up there, but what's this next peak? And I think vision's amazing, and then these goals, and I think we can kind of step ourselves, but that's about execution. And I think if I like Stan Efferding and the vertical diet, and talks about what's the diet that works. It's the diet you'll do. What's the exercise that works? The exercise you will do. And I think sometimes we want consistency, but we want to change 100% of our lifestyle. When I go, actually, well, what's the stuff I'll do? Execute on. Let me wake up early. Let me get to bed. Whatever. Let me have my quiet time. Let me talk. These sorts of things. If my finances are out of control, man, Dave Ramsey. So to me, it's this idea. It's not just agreement, it's alignment. So that's a long answer to a short question, but I think to me, it's every industry is trying to tackle this. And I think those that actually turn it into a daily executable, actionable kind of lifestyle thing, well, that's the ones that make the difference. And those are the ones that tend to make more money too.
Yeah.
It's not IQ. It's not smarts. It's just people who will execute day in and day out.
Yeah, no, I love that concept. I think, a follow-up question that may have a similar answer. So, the question I just asked is a lot more about the guy who's already on the hike, is it, and then, okay, and it only lasts for a little bit of time. He hikes real hard up the mountain at first, and then it's just so hard, and, okay, flatland is better. Okay, but what about the dude who, maybe someone who's thinking about becoming a Christian for the first time, thinking about even studying the Bible, or who has been a Christian and feels like they're so weak, and they see Mount Rainier or they see Everest and they're at the bottom going, I don't even know where to start. Like, this is such an overwhelming, excellence. I'm so far from excellence. I don't even know how to get this thing rolling. How do you help a guy like that? I mean, because that's even I want, right? I want to have conviction, or I want to be this type of person, but man, this seems so daunting especially right now with the pandemic, and there's so much doubt, and there's so much, especially as cases are ramping, things are shutting back down again, the election, racial injustice. I mean, our world is filled with pressure from every side and angle right now, and doing anything new, unless you're Jocko Willix and you're some super awesome entrepreneur, successful, blah, blah, blah. How in the world do you get some of this stuff started?
I look at this shrewd manager, and this guy is not a great disciple of Jesus, right? I mean, you look at him and he's pretty messed up. In fact, he's so bad at his job, he's about to get fired. But he goes, well, I got this one thing. Let me use it. I think, how do you be Jocko Willink? Well, I think if you're going to reverse engineer it, I think you start at the beginning and go, you got to enlist. You have to start with where you're at. And it is true. And I think as men, in some ways we can get hypnotized by the complexity of life and all these things and the messages and the pressure. But the truth of it is that all of the messaging, the truth of it is the only thing that's ever really changed the world is a few men who will just day in and day out do the right thing. I think there really is a fight of light and darkness. And I think our daily decisions really do inch one way or the other. I think we really are participating in that. And I think we can march and we can vote for different people, and that's awesome. But kings have risen and fallen. Governments have risen and fallen. God's kingdom continues to persist. The reach one, teach one is still, I think that's why Jesus did it. He didn't take the crown. He took 12. And now we're still talking about it. So I think, to me, I think the short answer is you gotta take the next step, whatever it is. wherever you're at. And the want to, it's an interesting thing because I watch Jesus he doesn't talk people into it. Like, I think we got to go home and honestly look at our life and go, do I like this? And do I like me? Do I like the kids that I'm going to produce because they're going to imitate me? In 50 years, do I like the way they're going to talk about me? I mean, and not that it's all about me, but in a sense, I got to look at the guy in the mirror and go, do I like this? And if I don't want it to change, then it won't. But you can't grow. Growth is actually something that takes some, change is inevitable. You will be older and probably weaker if you do nothing in a week. But I do think, like anything else, I think we have to make the decision to go for it. And you don't have to want it to do the next step. Like, I think you can go, I in my head, not my heart yet. My heart's not on fire, maybe, but going, I want to be a Christian. What do I do? Well, I at least got to sit down and go, I need to get around people that I kind of want to be like.
Yeah.
I need to open the Bible and start and take the next step. And I think sometimes we think we have to be overwhelmed with motivation, and a lot of motivational experts and cognitive psychologists and social psychologists will tell you that a lot of the idea of motivation is not really quite the way we want to romantically envision it. I actually think habit, consistency, influence, and oftentimes we're not even around those kinds of people that are producing the results we're hoping for. And I think when you get around a community, when I want to be a disciple, I look around at disciples and I look at their kids, I look at their life, I look at their influence and go, I do want this. But if I'm at a distance, if I won't dive in, I won't build the relationships, I won't open the Bible, then it's just theory in my head. And most of it's fiction, but I think there's a mix. I jump into the community, I take the next step I can, but I think, I don't know. I just think don't buy the lie that there's too much, you can't do anything. I think that's garbage. I think that's totally false. Or my one little thing, my one thing I do, me becoming a disciple, how does that change the world? I think more than you think. Way more. That's what I think. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I think, I think go for it. Take the next step. You don't,
Yeah. Absolutely. Enlist. I mean, I've been held back by so many things before because I'm waiting for the right time or the right moment or the right feeling to jump into it. And I mean, I did that with being a Christian for years. I said, I'll get to it when I feel older, when it's more convenient, and eventually I went to a party at the beginning of the college and said, what am I doing? Kind of that look at yourself in the mirror and evaluate. And, then, okay, fine, I have to invest here and I've got to get involved in a group and get some Bible studies going on in my life and all that. So no, I love it. I think that is right on par. Jeff, you're an excellent minister. Can you tell us a little bit about your decision to head over to Brazil and what you guys are doing over there? And you just talk about that for a minute.
So we've been down here, about 14 years now, a little over 14 years. Most of that time has been side by side with the Bigbies and others. We got a phenomenal family, great Texas team. And so about a little over a year, maybe 14, 15 months ago, we visited. And we've been working with Africa and thought that God was going to take us there for a long time, for over a decade. And God made it very clear, very spirit-led, and said, actually, nope, there's this other thing. There was a lot of needs, and we went down there to get to know the group, just talk at a campus conference and just preach a little bit, get to know people. And that actually became about a week and a half long interview, which was a little unexpected. And God just made it very, very clear that, there are a lot of needs. It's a phenomenal people. It's tough to not be won over by the people and their hearts and the food and the music and the energy. It's an amazing and beautiful people. But also in our circle of churches, there's just also a lot of need. And like the book of Nehemiah, and it's just, man, if someone will just go. And I mean, which is so much about, I think, excellence, was is just about being a man who will go, yes, I'll do this. I'll do it today. I'm going to do it tomorrow when I get there. And we said, okay, we'll go. And we're learning Portuguese, so we're stumbling along, which is great. But I think it's been mind blowing. But I think spirit led, has been the theme through this whole thing, and we're excited. And I don't know if we're naive. We don't feel fearful. We feel excited. maybe we should be. I don't know. I don't if it's other things. Maybe it's COVID where we're just kind of numb to some of those nerves or something. But we feel like, wow, it's so obviously God. Even if we blow it and fail, then God wants us to go fail down there. And amen. And when they find a bigger sinner, then he'll probably be the guy that they need. But at this point, we're excited. So we're thrilled. It's going to be a fun adventure, man, for sure.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I remember us dreaming in the past of where we would go, and even the concept and talking about we need more young men to raise up. If we're going to continue to advance the gospel for Christ, this has to continue. And we need men who will step up, raise up, train, and then be able to be sent out in time. And bro, you're doing it. I love it. So proud of you guys. Can't wait to see what you guys are going to do in Brazil. I'm confident it'll be excellent, whatever winds up happening. But just can't wait to see the fruit and continue our friendship from further than we've ever been before.
Right?
It's incredible. Jeff, last question. How do we get a mustache like yours? I'm struggling over here, man.
Well, I was inspired by your beard. And so I was trying to talk my face into growing something. And this is literally all I get. I've got nothing. In fact, I don't think I've shaved for more than a week, and it all looks as my face is kind of dirty. So, prayer and miracle grow. That's what it takes. So that's the story of my life. All my talent gets consolidated in one small place. Coffee or mustache. That's just the way. I don't know. You got to work with what you got.
I love it. That's awesome. Jeff, thank you so much for being on with us. It's been a phenomenal time. I love your words of wisdom, the excellence, the points about consistency and persistence, jumping in, looking at ourselves in the mirror, and really focusing on God and getting other godly men around us. Gold, love it. Thank you so very much. It's awesome having you.
Great to be here, bro. Proud of you guys and loving all the work you guys are doing down in Corpus. You guys are faithful and awesome and love the entire church. I'm thrilled about what God's doing down there.
Amen. Love you, man.
Love you, dude.
All right, so that is the end of our Church for Men for today. I want to say thank you again to Jeff for just an incredible time. We have a couple of things coming up. The cases here in Corpus Christi have risen for COVID-19. As many of you are aware, we've hit over 200 new cases a day for multiple days in a row here. And so we made the decision last night, we're going to shut down our in-person services in the building for now. We are still going to live stream it, so you can still watch on YouTube, and you may already be watching on YouTube right now. The video will be posted up there at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Or if you're watching on Facebook, you can go to our website at gc3.church, and the live stream link is right there for you to easily jump on board with. I do want to remind everyone, Honduras just got hit with a second horrible hurricane. Hope Worldwide is doing a phenomenal job, and they're ramping up. They've already sent money, and they're going to continue to send money. If you can donate, if you can help out, there's not even a way to get food and clothing over there right now, which is what people really need. But Hope is able to send the money and multiply their dollar amount to further everything on. So please, if you can go to gc3.church again, and there's a tan bar at the top that you can click on to be able to donate and help out with that. After this week, we will have no midweek service coming up, but we do have kickball. Since that's outside, we will socially distance, wear a mask. Kickball is going to be tomorrow at 2 p.m., and we're going to have a ton of fun with that as well. And then the following week, we'll be joining in Thanksgiving weekend. We'll be joining in Kidogo, the Mission Point Christian Church up in San Antonio, their church. And then after that, the following Sunday, so the Sunday, 2 Sundays after Thanksgiving, if you will, we'll be doing it'll be at the church building, but it's going to be outside in our vehicles. We'll have an FM broadcast going out, and we'll still live stream as well if we can get all the equipment to work outside correctly. So that's what's coming up for us. Hopefully we can see you live tomorrow or in-person kickball at 2 p.m., but have a phenomenal weekend. Have a great Thanksgiving if we don't see you before then. And let's continue to be craftsmen for Christ. Amen. Have a great day.